Hello. I've wanted to make this video for a while actually because I think that the Cadre Fireblade is a little underrated in the Codex for its point cost, for what it's capable of doing, and I think mostly because the HQ section of the Tau Codex is filled with some heavy hitters, namely the 3 different commander variants, and ethereals happen to be incredibly good, which is why in the recent point update, commanders all went up by about 10 points, and ethereals, and including the named character ethereals, went up by 20 points each. The only other slot, or the only other character in the HQ slot, is the Kroot Shaper, but I'll be getting to that later. I want to do a video that's on all of the Kroot, the Hounds, the Krootoks, the Carnivores, and the Kroot Shaper, and kind of build them all together. And it's, anyhow, the one that sort of, I don't know if it gets neglected necessarily, but when you only have so many HQ slots and you usually plan on taking a commander, and you usually plan on taking an ethereal, the Cadre Fireblade can often get forgotten. But it's a very, 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 very solid choice, especially now that a lot of points for certain units have increased. So you may find yourself in a bit of a point crunch when you're putting your list together, and having a character you can get that is 50 points and is also very, very useful and relatively versatile too can be nice. So first, a note on models before we get into the stats and everything like that. These two here are 2 custom Fireblades that I've made myself. So I've taken some parts from different models. You can see I've got the monocular. I think that's from a tank kit. The legs from a Fire Warrior squad. I've sort of rested the rifle on his knee there and given him the little grenades. And of course added a more character size appropriate base to this one. I made this one too, which is kind of just a little more outlandish, where I made his rifle look ridiculously long and then gave him a skull head because I thought that was kind of cool. But it's worth noting that the Cadre Fireblade is one of those models that is so very unworth its cost in money. Now, I believe it comes in the new, I guess it's Combat Patrol. I forget what they're calling the new box sets, because it's not Getting Started or whatever, or Start Collecting. They got rid of those. And now the new Tau box, I believe, has the ethereal, stealth suits, a ghost keel, some fire warriors, and I believe there's a Cadre Fireblade as well. But if you're buying the Fireblade separately, it's like, it's like 20 or 30 bucks for one model that's the same size-ish as one of your regular Fire Warriors. I mean, as a little size comparison here, I've got a regular Fire Warrior right there, and you can see the model is basically the same size. Base, obviously not. Now, of course, I've made this model with Fire Warrior bits, so, that's going to happen. But the Fireblade shouldn't necessarily be bigger than your other Tau models because it's a Tau. They're all kind of the same size. So there are a lot of bits that come in, especially the Fire Warrior kit, the Pathfinder kit, and even the vehicle kit that you can use and slam together to make yourself a Cadre Fireblade without spending any extra money. My recommendation, honestly, if you're starting a Tau army and you're looking to save some money, because this hobby is ludicrously expensive at times, one thing I'd highly recommend doing is if you bought, say, a unit of Fire Warriors and a vehicle, whether it be a Devilfish or a Hammerhead or something like that, with those 2 kits, you could get 10 Fire Warriors, so you'd have your unit of 10. you'd have all sorts of extra bits, whether you decided to make them the long rifle fire warriors or the pulse carbine fire warriors. I don't recommend the pulse carbines. Or the pulse blaster breacher teams. You get all those bits in there, but you get 10 models. You get effectively, I think they're 10 bases, and you get 10 sets of like 10 chest pieces. So there's no way you can make any extras. You will have, I believe you'll have extra legs, extra arms, extra weapons, certainly. You may get extra shoulder pads, I believe you do. And there are other backpacks and things like that. So you'll have almost the makings of a full fire warrior or full few fire warriors. But the vehicle kit, like let's say you get a devilfish, typically the devilfish will come with an add-on sprue of added like cool little stuff you can flare up your devilfish with. And part of that actually is, that's where I actually got this little monocular here. There is a sort of tank driver or gunner that can be put coming out here. Let me show you what I'm talking about here, so I'm not just describing stuff. This is my devilfish that's in the works. It's seen a few bad days, so it's in the repair shop at the moment. But this piece here, it comes with this little sort of dome here. I've actually blue tacked this in here, but this dome can be opened or glued open, and there's actually a Tau model that can go inside there that can be, it can be given the monocular, and it looks like he's looking out, and assessing a situation, which one sort of tactically I think is stupid because, stay inside your vehicle. You're the Tau. You probably have sensors of all kinds. Why does some guy need to get his head out of the top of the tank? That's silly. But all that aside, my pedantry aside, you can also keep those bits. There is a set of legs, there is a chest, there's the monocular, but the most important is you get a chest and legs. So you'll be able to make a full, either if you want to add a fire warrior, I recommend though you use those parts to make yourself a Fireblade. You can swap the legs out and give it a more dynamic pose, as I have. He's got this sort of like kneeling, on one knee kind of thing. Because the one that's sort of standing up outside the tank is just standing up straight, just asking to be sniped. But you do get that chest piece, and you'll get plenty of arms from the Fire Warrior kit that you'll be able to equip your Cadre Fireblade with his pulse rifle, or with some other pieces, like, they have like hands with like a detector piece in it or something like that. You'll have plenty of bits with those two kits that'll allow you to make 10 Fire Warriors, a Cadre Fireblade, and whichever vehicle you happen to have purchased. The only thing you will not get is a base. That's the only issue. You won't get an extra base, so that's something to keep in mind. But you'll save yourself 20, 25 bucks, and you'll be able to have a model that is also yours, that you've created, and you can kind of decide, which of those custom pieces do you want to get to make your Cadre Fireblade. It would be good, when you're playing, one, to have something like I've done on a larger base. It'll also help your opponent, tell which one is the character, because he looks like a Fire Warrior, right? So if you've got a whole bunch of Fire Warriors out in front of him, if he's got a larger base at least, and maybe some dynamic posing and some extra bits you've added on top, you can add some flair to it to make sure that your character stands out from the rest of your Fire Warriors. And, I mean, personally, I find that stuff really fun, too, because you end up adding a little personality to your army, which I find Games Workshop has kind of steered away from in recent years, promoting that, kit bashing and swapping parts around and things like that. So, anyhow, just a little note there that you can very easily get yourself a Cadre Fireblade without actually buying a Cadre Fireblade. The box also is a great value. The box I mentioned before, the battle set or whatever they call it now. because the Ghost Keel is pretty good. Stealth suits are great. Fire Warriors, it's always great to have. The Ethereal's fantastic, and the Fireblade's fantastic as well. I believe the kit also comes with Pathfinders. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've checked that out. But either way, that box is not a bad value either, because you end up getting some extra stuff in there as well. All the makings of some a pretty cool army to begin with. But if you're like me and you want to save a little bit and not not spend a whole bunch of money on a character just because they've arbitrarily made that amount of plastic more money, well, you can make it yourself. Now, I've spent a lot of time talking about the model. Let's talk about the stats. One thing to note is that the Cadre Fireblade is one of the few units that actually had its stats get worse from the previous codex. But it doesn't really matter, and I'll tell you why in a moment. First, let's go over these stats. Now, the old Cadre Fireblade used to have, let's have a look here. Movement 6, weapon skill 3+, which is excellent for Tau. Ballistic skill 2+, nuts. Strength and toughness 3, 5 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 4+ armor save. Now, the Cadre Fireblade that you have now is 6-inch move, that's the same. 4+ ballistic weapon skill, so a little worse. 3+ ballistic skill, so that also went down. Strength and toughness 3, the same. Wounds 4, so that went down by 1 as well. And then 3 attacks, leadership 8, 4+ save. So the weapon skill, ballistic skill, and wounds each went down, which is kind of brutal. And you might ask yourself, well, why? Now, here are a few things that happened. One, the Cadre Fireblade got a Fireblade pulse rifle. This is a new weapon that they got, which is effectively an upgunned pulse rifle. So this is an improvement. 36-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 5, that's all the same. But AP -2 and 2 damage. So improved pulse rifle, that's cool. Kept the marker light, which is also cool. Now, part of the reason the lowering ballistic skill doesn't really matter is because of the way marker lights work now. Marker lights, it used to be, you'd be rolling a 2+ for your Cadre Fireblade to hit with its marker light in the shooting phase, which means that it wouldn't be able to shoot with its pulse rifle anyhow. But now the way marker lights work is you do a marker light action, and then at the beginning of the shooting phase, the marker light goes out, and your Cadre Fireblade is now free to shoot with its improved rifle. So the fact that its ballistic skill is 3+ only actually affects the Fireblade pulse rifle, which is just better anyhow. So it's not really much of a nerf. If anything, it's better because it allows your Fireblade, one, to throw out a marker light, as it always could, but then also shoot. It can do both, because units can do both now, where they didn't used to be able to do that. Then photon grenades had a bit of a change. So it used to be a piece of equipment, now it is a keyword, and it allows you to use a stratagem. So they still technically have photon grenades. Otherwise, nothing much has changed. The only things that have changed, let's have a look. Well, they're the aura abilities, but we'll get to that in a sec. You can still take 2 drones. Those will be more expensive, of course, as the cost of drones has gone up across the board, for gun drones going up to 10 points and shield drones going up to 15 points. Although I would say with the Cadre Fireblade, at least the way I'd like to play him is don't buy any drones. Just hide them behind a whole bunch of Fire Warriors and let them buff them. Make him as cheap as possible. Keep it at 50 points and you'll be just fine. This character is very easily killed, as you can tell by the stat line. 4 wounds, toughness 3, 4 up armor save, no invulnerable save to speak of. Very easy to kill. But also incredibly cheap and easy to hide in and amongst your Fire Warriors. And honestly, he should be around Fire Warriors. because that's what he's here for. The Fireblade pulse rifle is cool and all, but you're not really bringing him for a cool rifle. That's just gravy. This is a true support character, which I really, really like. So, we've got two abilities now. Used to be you'd have volley fire, where SEP models within 6 of the Fireblade can fire an extra shot with their pulse pistols, carbines, rifles when shooting at a target within half the weapon's range. Now, it's when a friendly SEP core unit is within 6 inches of this unit's Cadre Fireblade model. Each time a core model in that unit makes an attack with a pulse weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So I think that's one, it's just markedly better. For a couple of reasons. One, it's pulse weapon. That means that it does affect pulse blasters, which it did not used to, which is really, really good. Because if you've got a Cadre Fireblade that's really close to a bunch of breachers, getting those extra hits is wonderful. So you get exploding 6s, which is really nice. So anytime you score a hit of 6, it's 2 hits, basically. Real nice. So that'll work for your Fire Warriors. That'll work for strike teams, breacher teams, and it will also work for Pathfinders. Pathfinders count as Fire Warriors. They have both the Fire Warrior team keyword and the core keyword. So Cadre Fireblade can buff a unit of Pathfinders, if you so choose, as well as breacher teams and strike teams with whatever weapons they're equipped with. So there is a bit of versatility there, where it's not just your Fire Warrior, your standard, traditional troop Fire Warriors that we're thinking of here. So you've got that ability, which is a 6-inch aura. So any core unit within 6 of the Cadre Fireblade can use this. This is just an aura that is constantly on. And then there's a command phase ability as well. So the Cadre Fireblade got one improved ability and then one extra ability. But it's in the command phase, so it's something that's important to think of when you're going to do it. In your command phase, select one friendly SEP Fire Warrior team. So again, Breacher team, Strike team, and Pathfinders all have the Fire Warrior team keyword. So any of those are applicable, but it's one you're selecting. So in your command phase, select one friendly SEP Fire Warrior team unit within 9 inches of this unit's Cadre Fireblade model. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a core model in that unit makes a ranged attack, re-roll a hit roll of 1. Very cool. So he can give out a re-roll hits of 1 to one team. One unit of Pathfinders, one strike team unit, one breacher team unit. So you get 1 reroll 1s, and then otherwise, if any of those types of units are within 6, they'll be able to score additional hits when they roll 6s to hit. Important to note, it specifies that each time a core model in that unit. The reason it says that is because you can have drones attached to your Fire Warrior teams, your Pathfinder teams. You can have drones attached. So those ones will not get any of those buffs. It's specifically the actual Tau models, like these guys. So not the drones, the actual warriors themselves. They're the ones who are going to benefit from these abilities. So all in all, for 50 points, you're getting a marker light, which is always nice to have. You are getting the rifle, which is honestly gravy. Don't even, the rifle's not really there to do damage. It can. I mean, it can fire a shot or two, and it might be able to do a little bit of damage. It could be that one where you needed to knock one more wound off something, and so you save it sort of till the end, and then the Cadre Fireblade can fire. So that's cool and all. But it's the two aura abilities that are really nice. The reason I like it so much is because you get the exploding sixes, you get the reroll hits of one for one unit, and then there are so many stratagems that can boost either Fire Warrior teams, Strike teams, or Breacher teams to allow them to become more efficient. And Tau troops have really good guns. Their skills are all right, usually a ballistic skill 4, and you don't want them in close combat. But there are a lot of ways of boosting either the AP of their shooting, getting extra shots, getting extra damage out of them, or rerolls of some sort. So there are a lot of ways to kind of buff them. And if you could say, for example, we've got a Fire Warrior team, why don't you imagine that that's 10 guys right now? So this Fire Warrior team in the command phase, I selected that it is going to be the target of my target sighted ability. So whenever it rolls a 1 to hit, it can re-roll it. So this unit is now re-rolling 1s to hit. And then since it's close to the aura of the Cadre Fireblade, when it scores a 6 to hit, it will get double the shots, which is extra nice when you're re-rolling, because some of those 1s could turn into 6s. And then you may already have 6s there. So nice, a nice little reliability boost. So the guns that they are equipped with are now more reliable. It's as though their weapon skill is better. They re-roll 1s, they get extra hits. Real nice. Now, if we pair that with even just one of the stratagems that are available to Fire Warriors, we can increase that firepower even further. So, for example, if it were a Breacher team, we could use the Breach and Clear stratagem to make it so that the target of their shooting does not receive any cover whatsoever, and they can re-roll wounds, which is a real nice combo. So you'd re-roll hits of 1, your 6s to hit, auto hit, or sorry, your 6s to hit will double the number of those shots, and then all those that go through, you roll to wound and you re-roll failed wounds, or you re-roll, you can re-roll the wound roll. So re-rolling 1s to hit, re-rolling wounds, exploding 6s to hit, you make your Breacher team very, very successful. Now, for example, if it were a Strike team, you could use the Relentless Fusillade, which is, instead of following the normal rules for rapid fire weapons, models in the unit shooting pulse rifles make double the number of attacks. So, if you're outside of rapid fire range, this is especially helpful. You'll get double the number of shots that are all re-rolling 1s that also explode on 6s. So more shots that explode on 6s. And each time a core model in that unit makes a ranged attack, improve the armor penetration of that attack by 1. So your pulse rifles are now AP -2. So very, very good. Now there are a few others you can have a look at here. Pulse Onslaught, for example. And not to worry, if you have multiple Fire Warrior units that you'd say want to buff with a reroll to 1s hit, reroll 1s to hit, there's a lot that you can get that from. One, of course, is the Fireblade in the command phase, gives it to the unit. Another one is that the commander just gives out a reroll 1s to core units, which are Fire Warriors, Strike teams, Breacher teams, Pathfinder teams. There's that. And there's also a stratagem for Devilfish, which allow it to give out a reroll 1s to hit aura as well. So you have plenty of ways of re-rolling and making your Fire Warrior attacks, with their weapons at least, a lot more reliable. And I think that you could put together a solid core of Tau Fire Warriors and Cadre Fireblades that really don't take up too many points and can deal a surprising amount of damage. Tau weapons are strength 5 or 6. That's very good for troops. Very, very good. And given the fact that Pathfinders can now fire their marker lights and shoot, just adds more shots to the table. Strength 5 is a very, very comfortable place for your low damage or low strength firepower. It's in that range where things like regular infantry that are toughness 3 or 4 are still getting wounded on 3s, which is very nice. And really heavy stuff, let's say toughness 8, for example, still gets wounded on 5s, not 6s, because it doesn't get doubled out. So it makes Tau infantry firepower always dangerous. It's always dangerous. Now, it should not be the core of your damage dealing when you're dealing with, large vehicles or big monsters or anything like that. But it can always threaten things. Always. There's often an AP value, which is nice, especially with the breachers with AP -2. AP -1 on pulse rifles is a godsend. Incredible range, strength 5, multiple shots, way to add shots, way to get the shots to explode, way to re-roll those hits. Always really nice. You can get if you invest like 500 points of your army, like let's say you're playing 2,000 points, if you invest 500 points, you can get a whole whack of troops, a couple of characters, and maybe some devilfish, and have a nice solid backbone to your army filled with troops that can also, in a pinch, deal a lot of damage. If your bigger units get focused down, you can still do a heck of a lot of damage with fire warriors. So something to think about. So for those reasons, that's why I'm really a fan of the Fireblade, because he buffs your fire warriors. There's a static aura. There's a free give out aura in the command phase. And he's got a marker light, which should not be forgotten. He's got a marker light. He can fire his rifle in the shooting phase as well. So it's another freebie you get to shoot. Interestingly enough, though, if he gets locked in combat, he does not have a pulse pistol, weirdly. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But you've got a very effective unit right here. Now, with the marker light, as he is an infantry model, he's not a drone, he's not a vehicle, you cannot move and perform the marker light action. That you should keep in mind. It's also precisely why I would say don't take marker drones with him, because the marker drones can move and then he can't, so it's kind of a weird sort of inconsistency. It's better to keep him without any drones, nice and cheap at 50 points, keep him static. He is good with, a wall of fire warriors with the long rifles. He's good, inside a devilfish, coming out with a bunch of breachers, helping them out. One thing, though, to note, that your breachers, if you decide to put them inside a vehicle with the Cadre Fireblade, if they start the turn inside the vehicle, you will not be able to give out his aura, because the aura that reroll ones to hit, or not the aura, excuse me, the aura is always on if he's on the battlefield. But the command phase ability, he'll be inside the transport, so you can't just pop that off, unfortunately. Now, all that said, I think it's a wonderful HQ unit, and if you're looking for a way to shave off some points and still make the core of your army very effective, a Cadre Fireblade is an incredibly good choice.